Second time today you've seen me. Wow. Tonight, though, I'm going to give it a little bit. Hopefully, we'll have some people jump on. And I'm excited to be talking to you about my book, about the anthology that's coming up. And I should have pulled it up on the screen. So I'm excited to be talking about the anthology that is coming up. And hopefully, oh no, why would you do that? I'm excited mostly about having people finder preview in the fragmentical mess. So my hope is to share with you this anthology. Okay, that's better. Is to share with you the anthology project. So I have an anthology project coming up and I'm super excited. I'm going to share with you this screen. So hopefully, there you go. So tonight I am talking about my anthology project and that's coming up. So this is my call for authors. And so we have a call coming up on the 11th and I'm excited about the call coming up. And I guess I wanted to take a few moments to just kind of share with you my heart and this anthology project. And before I even get started, I really want to shout out my publisher, super amazing, inspirational, motivational Dr. Dorothy Patrick Wilson, who is amazing. If you get the opportunity to be a part of this anthology, you will absolutely not only get to meet her, but you will get nuggets. So, why are those nuggets important? Well, if you ever thought about whether or not you have a voice and whether or not you want to publish, if you ever thinking about publishing, I can tell you this, I saw this, I was a part of this. And so being a part of the last anthology project that you saw me in, if you go back through my pages, you'll see it. I mean, her skill and her perfect timing. She's been doing this for many years as a publisher. That book went to number one Amazon bestseller in record time. I've never seen it ever. And it was the skill, it was all that. So if you are interested in being a part of my anthology, she is my publisher, you'll get a chance to meet Dr. Dorothy. And it's going to be amazing when you meet her, because if you've ever thought that you had a story to share, a story to tell, something like that, voice, if you ever wanted to give voice to your triumphs. And I say your triumphs because everybody has trials, but if you are still here, you've also had triumphs. And to take and change those triumphs into not just triumphs for yourself, but to be able to share that in such a way as to encourage and motivate someone else to excel, to succeed, to start that business, to overcome that depression, to overcome the anxiety by your story, then I'll tell you, writing is the thing. I read a lot. I always have. Over the years, I've changed kind of the things that I have read, but it's so much more empowering when what you read is what you wrote, um, is what you wrote. And to hear back from people who read your story, how it affected them, how it empowered them, how it strengthened them to get over something that was challenging to them. So, this call for authors, and if you have questions, absolutely. Um, I'm taking questions. If you have questions, if you're interested in being a part of it, then in the description for this live, you should see the information and the link for the RSVP, right? For this anthology project. And if not, let me know and I will drop that in the chat. Yeah, I will drop that in the chat. As a matter of fact, I will do that anyway. I'll drop the link for the RSVP in the chat. But I wanted to start really focusing on getting this call for authors out because your stories will be empowering to me. Your stories will be empowering to even me. I know that I am not the only one that's ever gone through some things, had a rough time. But I will honestly tell you, I have challenged myself over and over again to not allow my circumstances and the things that have, like we say, the things that have overcome us. I've challenged myself not to allow those things to overtake me, especially if you have children, right? So if you have children, one of the hardest things to do is to keep up a brave face in front of your children and your loved ones, in front of your family, because sometimes the things that come against us are so painful, so painful. And I'll be honest, they're consuming. They're consuming. When I was talking with and I'm hoping I don't even get emotional. Isn't this crazy? When I was talking with my publisher, Dr. Dorothy, about this book, she was like, no, that's not it. And she kept drilling down and kept drilling down and kept drilling down. And to the why. No, that's not the why. What's the why? Why did you do that? Why did you feel like this? And I really begin first of all, I begin to cry, to cry on the call, which I hate crying on the call like that, but I begin to just cry on the call because at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is God has been the only constant when people, places, and things have let me down. And those people, places, and things include myself, right? They include myself. And so I had to find strength somewhere. If you guys knew the half of some of the things, and I feel like this with you, if I knew the half of some of the things that you have been through, I would be amazed to see you looking like you look. Looking, the Bible talks about a time when the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were thrown into the fire, and it says when they came out, they didn't even smell like smoke. Not only did they not look like they had been in a fire, they didn't even smell like smoke. And I'll bet if you told me your story, your stories, nobody has just one. I'll bet if you told me your stories, I would be amazed that you are still in your right mind, that you still have the ability to love, that you may be scarred, you may be wounded, but you still are open to caring, and you still are there to help people. You might be a little more guarded, but I'll bet I would be amazed at how you are still standing through the trials you've been through. And that is most of us with most of our stories, right? That is most of us with most of our stories. And so I really realized as she began to drill down into the real meat of it, the real meat of, I guess, the real meat of why I haven't quit, why I continue to build, to try, to just not give up. It really was, you know, my belief that tomorrow is going to be a better day. My understanding that for my sons, I couldn't quit. It was not even an option. How do I quit on them? I can quit on me, but how could I possibly quit on them? And so I kept going. I kept going through the tears and the hurt. I kept going through the pain of divorces, the pain of people turning their backs on me, people I loved. I just kept going. And I began to get enough of a foothold, a foundation that allowed me to begin to build. What was I building? I was building self confidence in my own ability. I was building trust in me, not them. And I was building businesses. I began building business and letting the businesses serve people. Most of all, I poured out in those areas of my life. When people see the things that I've done, like they come to my center, or they see my Facebook page, which lately I know has looked, there's method to my madness. But when they see that I've built, and when I look back at the people I've helped, and I realize that I got to that point through all of the tears, the heartache, the pain, and I refuse to quit. I only have one message. At the end of the day, whether I'm talking to you as Lillian, the real estate agent, and you're frustrated because it doesn't seem like we're going to get the house, or whether I'm talking to you as the business owner who has a startup because they believe in it and you can't seem to put one foot in front of the other to make it work. You don't know where to go for the help. Or whether I'm talking to you as a pastor and you're trying to believe that God loves you. It doesn't matter. I only have one story. I do. Don't quit. Don't quit. Don't give up. Don't give out. Certainly don't give in. I only have one message. I know now, and yes, I'm not ashamed to say I'm 53. I know now that I can't fail. But I didn't know then. I didn't know. I thought the failure of a thing, whether it was a relationship or a business or me failing myself, I didn't stick to the diet, or I didn't get the job, or I didn't try, or I self sabotage. I know now that that failure was my quitting, my giving up, my listening to the narrative of others, not my own. Me falling short was me quitting. I know that now. I didn't know that then. So I had to go through all of these tests and trials. God had to keep pulling me up over and over. I had to keep failing over and over to know that I wasn't failing and that a loss was not a loss like we see it. It was a lesson. I wasn't starting from square one again. Every time I picked myself up to try again, I wasn't starting from square one. I was starting from the knowledge of before, when I went so far and stopped. And then I went a little farther and I stopped. And so I know now at 53, truthfully, I can't fail. I literally cannot fail. Doesn't matter. You will succeed. Your succeeding is a direct correlation to your faith and your effort. Period. Period. Your faith, if you believe. And if you are believers, God tells us that, right? God tells us that be it unto you according to your faith. I can't fail if I try. And my grandmother used to always say, nothing beats a failure but a try. And I don't know that at my young age I got that. I didn't really understand it. It just sounded like some kind of crazy saying. But she used to always say that when she would try to get me to do something I didn't want to do. Um, and I never wanted to. Let me do this. And I never wanted to, right? Like maybe I was afraid or something like that. And I just didn't want to do that. And she would always say, okay. She never coaxed me, never put me down, anything like that. She just would simply say, nothing beats a failure but a try. And the older I got, her words would come back to me until finally I got it. Nothing beats a failure. The only thing that beats a failure is a try. So if I try, I've already beat the failure. I didn't fail. I learned, but I didn't fail. And so in this now season where I feel like, and this is not a negative, where I feel like there possibly are more years behind me than there are in front of me. It's a download time. It's a succession time. It's a time for me to pass on the knowledge to my little sisters and brothers, to all those that are trying so hard, still feeling like they fail, still feeling like they've got so many big dreams in front of them. Like, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I don't know how to do it. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to begin. I don't know who will help me. This is that season for me to pour out my knowledge to those and my ability to be able to help lift you up and to hold you up. But by the same token, I want you to understand the power of our voices, the power of your story. There'll be people who will look at my story or read my story and, may find it, not encouraging or moving. However, something about your story, maybe the people who know you or thought they knew you will read your story. One of those moments where only you and God know. Only you and God. It's time for you to share that. It is. It's time for you to tell that thing. One, it's going to release you. It's going to release you from being bound by the thing that has always been a tender spot, a soft spot that can take you right back to that moment, right? Right back to feeling the insecurity, to feeling the loneliness, to feeling the fear. That one thing that when you smell it, or when you hear it, or when you sense it, you're catapulted back to that child again that's powerless and helpless. It's time to write about it. It's time to talk about it. It's time to share it. It takes the power completely away from the enemy and his ability to catapult you back into that scared place again, that fearful place, or that lonely place. It's time to tell it. It's time to triumph over that. That's what this book is. This book is for those who realize or need to realize that God is within you. You can't fail. You can't fail if you try, if you believe, if you have faith, if you lean in. I created a construction company, and someone asked me the other day, they were like, did you go to school for that? No, no. I needed to start one. And so I started one. And we had jobs, lots of work. It allowed me to keep 23 guys working during a time when businesses were shutting down, the midst of COVID. It allowed us to keep them going and to provide some modicum of security. Was it perfect? Mm-mm. I was learning, but I needed to start one, and so I did. I can absolutely tell you that because I've done a few things that I have had no training for, that I didn't go to school for. God has been the guiding factor. And you may not want to hear me talk about God, 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 and Jesus, 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 and I get it. But this is my story. Your story is probably different, looks different. There's been something that impacted you along the way, something, someone, several someones. I can count several someones at some of the most pivotal points in my life that thankfully came along, and they were just what I needed in that moment. Whether it was a spiritual mother, a mother figure, whether it was a father figure, whatever it was, at the right moment when I felt like I couldn't hold on any longer, they came along and absolutely pushed me into who I am today, allowed me to hold on a little longer, held on for me, and allowed me to just rest a little while, whatever it was. We have not yet we have not yet harnessed the power of our words. We allow everybody else to say whatever else, whether it's on TikTok and Instagram, and we look at it for entertainment's sake. We look at it, for the fun of it. We look at the egregiousness of what's being put out there. We read the stories and the words, all these things. But what about your words? What about your story? It's time. It's time. And it's time that you understand, especially those of us in the body of Christ. You've hidden yourself for too long. You've held your story. You've held the hurt. You've held the pain. And it's time for you to share it. It's time for you to talk about it. It's time for you to let it go. And I couldn't think of a better way than for you to memorialize your triumph. Your triumph. I hope you will join me in this anthology. I hope you will. You've seen this on my page. Share your story of strength, resilience, and unwavering faith in this upcoming book. And that's exactly what it is, because I know that you have a story where you didn't quit, you didn't give up, you were beyond resilient. You probably surprised a lot of people. They expected you to quit. They expected you to give up, and they thought they had beaten your spirit down. They thought they were sure that after everything they did and said, that you would never stand up again, that you would never take your place. And in this book, we will show them, not only did we get up again, not only did we survive, we've thrived. We're still thriving. We're still carrying on. We're still building. We're still growing. And we won't quit. I won't quit. I won't quit. And neither will you. So I hope you will hit the RSVP. It is in the it is in the it is in the chat. Just RSVP. We're gonna meet on the 11th, and I'm gonna answer all of your questions about the anthology and about being a part of it. And I know that some of us may not feel ready to share. I do understand. I am asking, jump on the call on the 11th, 7 p.m. Let's talk about it. DM me if that makes you feel better. But it is time. This is a whole new year. a whole new year where you get to be free, where you get to now take this platform and build the life that shows your unwavering spirit. You now get to encourage someone else that is sitting in your shoes, sitting where you were sitting a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You get to do that in this book. And I'm looking forward to sharing that moment with you, that time with you, sharing that space with you. There are a lot of other perks that we'll discuss on the 11th. There are some other perks that we'll discuss that come along with being a co author, not the least of which is helping you craft a platform to continue to grow your brand and your influence with your words. So join me on the 11th, 7 p.m. We'll be right here. It'll be virtual. And I'm looking forward to seeing your beautiful faces and to sharing this opportunity with you to make an impact and a mark that will be everlasting. Have an amazing night.